They've survived empires, bombings, and sanctions, and yet, somehow they're still standing at the center of it all. Serbia, a small Balkan nation that has turned survival into strategy. Today, while global powers divide the world into blocks of loyalty and opposition, Serbia walks the impossible line, balancing Russia, China, and the West all at once. It's a high-stakes game, one that could determine not only Serbia's future, but the balance of power in Europe itself. Welcome to Doctrine of War, where we explore how strategy, history, and power collide to shape the modern world. And before we dive into how Serbia became the master of balancing giants, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Your support helps us keep creating deep, cinematic analyses like this one, and ensures stories like Serbia's don't go untold. Alright, let's unravel how this small Balkan state became the ultimate geopolitical tightrope walker, outsmarting great powers without ever declaring a side. From isolation to influence, the return of the Balkan strategist. To understand Serbia's strategy today, you need to go back to the late 1990s, to the ruins of Belgrade where NATO bombs fell during the Kosovo War. Serbia was isolated, sanctioned, and humiliated. The Yugoslav dream had collapsed. Its neighbors joined NATO, its economy was shattered, and its influence in the Balkans seemed over. But in that collapse, something vital survived: the Serbian instinct for survival. When the bombs stopped falling, Serbia's leaders faced a question. How does a small, landlocked nation surrounded by NATO members protect its interests when everyone wants to control it? The answer wasn't confrontation, it was balance. That balance began under a simple realization: Serbia couldn't afford enemies anymore. Instead, it would need everyone: Russia for energy and history, China for investment and technology, and the West for markets and legitimacy. In other words, Serbia couldn't pick a side, so it chose all of them. Belgrade started rebuilding its economy while quietly re-establishing its geopolitical connections. It opened trade with the EU. Today, the European Union accounts for nearly two-thirds of Serbian exports, while maintaining political loyalty to Moscow, its traditional ally. When the West expected dependency, Serbia built flexibility. And it didn't stop there. China entered the picture in the early 2010s, offering something Serbia desperately needed: capital without conditions. While Brussels demanded reforms, Beijing delivered infrastructure. Roads, bridges, railways, and factories, all funded through the Belt and Road Initiative. For Serbia, this wasn't about ideology. It was pragmatism, a survival tactic turned into strategy. The result? Serbia turned its isolation into leverage. It became the only European country that could host Russian officials, Chinese investors, and NATO officers, sometimes in the same week. To the West, it remained a European democracy in progress. To Moscow, it was a loyal Slavic brother resisting Western dominance. To Beijing, it was the gateway to Europe. In a world of polarized alliances, Serbia became what few nations could be: indispensable to all. The Moscow connection, loyalty, leverage, and limits. Serbia's relationship with Russia runs deep, centuries deep. Shared Orthodox faith, Slavic roots, and a history of alliance have tied the two nations together since the days of empire. To many Serbs, Russia isn't just an ally, it's a protector. During the 19th century, it backed Serbia's independence from the Ottoman Empire. During both world wars, Russian blood was shed alongside Serbia. And in 1999, when NATO bombs fell on Belgrade, Russia was the only major power that stood against it. That emotional memory shapes Serbia's modern policy. Even today, the Serbian government refuses to impose sanctions on Russia over Ukraine, the only European country outside the former Soviet bloc to do so. Moscow remains a crucial partner, providing energy, political backing in the UN, and diplomatic support over the issue of Kosovo. But that loyalty has limits, and Belgrade knows it. Because beneath the warmth of brotherhood lies a cold realism. Serbia can't survive by leaning solely on Moscow. For all its symbolic ties, Russia's reach in the Balkans is shrinking. Its energy dominance faces competition from new interconnectors with Greece and Bulgaria. Its soft power has been eroded by the war in Ukraine. And while Serbia values Russian friendship, it's careful not to become a pawn in Moscow's conflicts. That's why President Aleksandar Vučić plays a careful game, publicly reaffirming Serbia's friendship with Russia while quietly aligning with Western institutions. Serbia participates in NATO's Partnership for Peace program, hosts EU military missions, and buys modern weapons from both East and West, from Russian Pantsir I systems to French Rafale jets. This is Serbia's genius, using Moscow for diplomatic cover without surrendering sovereignty. When it needs political protection, such as vetoes in the UN Security Council over Kosovo, Russia provides it. When it needs trade, investment, and modernization, the EU provides that instead. And when it needs infrastructure and technology, China steps in. Every great power gives Serbia something, and in return Serbia gives them hope that they can keep it. It's a careful illusion, and Belgrade manages it masterfully. Still, this balancing act has risks. Serbia's refusal to sanction Russia has strained its EU accession talks. Brussels has warned that neutrality cannot last forever, that eventually Serbia must choose a side. But that's the very point. Belgrade's strength lies in never choosing. Because if Serbia ever did, it would lose its leverage overnight. For now, its message to the West is clear. You need us stable more than we need your approval. And to Moscow, we'll stay your friends, but not your followers. The dragon in the Balkans, China's strategic bet. If Russia is Serbia's emotional ally, China is its economic one. The relationship began quietly, but within a decade, it transformed Serbia into Beijing's strongest foothold in southeastern Europe. While the EU debated reforms and conditional loans, China arrived with cash and cranes. It financed the Belgrade-Budapest Railway, built bridges over the Danube, invested in copper mines and steel plants, and established technology hubs across the country. The result was a visible transformation. Chinese-built highways slicing through Serbian mountains, Huawei surveillance systems in Belgrade, and new industrial zones buzzing with activity. To ordinary Serbs, this wasn't geopolitics, it was progress. China didn't lecture Serbia about democracy or Kosovo. It offered results. And that's why public opinion toward Beijing remains overwhelmingly positive. Over 70% of Serbs view China favorably, one of the highest rates in Europe. But for China, Serbia is more than just a partner. It's a strategic bridge into Europe. Beijing understands that controlling logistics through the Balkans gives it a land route to the EU market without relying on Western ports. Serbia's location, between Central Europe and the Mediterranean, makes it a perfect node for China's Belt and Road network. Through Serbia, China gains influence in a region where the West once had complete dominance. Belgrade, meanwhile, plays along brilliantly. It accepts Chinese investment but guards its sovereignty carefully. It buys drones from China but still conducts military drills with NATO. It uses Huawei technology but also maintains ties with Western telecoms. When Europe criticizes Beijing's growing footprint, Serbia shrugs. To Belgrade, China isn't a threat, it's insurance. A second pillar of support in case relations with the West sour again. In this way, Serbia has turned dependency into diversification. Every partner, Russia, China, and the West, sees in Serbia something they want. But none of them can fully control it. That's the heart of Serbia's strategy, to stay useful enough to be courted, but independent enough to say no. And as global rivalries deepen, that neutrality becomes more valuable than ever. The game of leverage, Serbia's power in the Balkans. In the heart of the Balkans, power doesn't come from sheer size. It comes from position and patience. And Serbia, more than any other nation in the region, understands this truth. Once the core of Yugoslavia, Serbia now finds itself surrounded by NATO states: Croatia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, North Macedonia, Montenegro, Albania, a geopolitical cage at least on paper. Yet, somehow, that cage has become a fortress. Instead of being isolated, Serbia has made itself indispensable to everyone around it. Its economy ties it to the European Union. Over 65% of its exports go there. Its energy ties it to Russia, with pipelines and gas deals that ensure both warmth and leverage. And its infrastructure binds it to China, through billion-dollar railways, bridges, and industrial investments that no Western power can easily match. But beyond trade and diplomacy, Serbia's real strength lies in influence. Across the Balkans, in Bosnia, Montenegro, and even North Macedonia, Serbia maintains cultural, political, and media networks that give it soft power far beyond its borders. Through the Serbian Orthodox Church, through shared language, and through media outlets that broadcast across the region, Belgrade quietly shapes narratives and loyalties. This influence isn't coercive, it's connective. Serbia positions itself as the guardian of Balkan identity in a region still fractured by old wounds and foreign ambitions. And that identity, combined with its balancing diplomacy, gives it a unique edge. Serbia can talk to everyone. When Western diplomats need dialogue with Bosnia's Serb entity, Republika Srpska, they go through Belgrade. When Russia wants to project power in the region, it uses Serbia's friendship to stay relevant. When China wants to build its European bridge, Serbia opens the door. The result is extraordinary. Serbia, a country of just 7 million people, now sits at the crossroads of every major negotiation in southeastern Europe. That's not luck, it's strategy. Because Serbia's leaders learned from their history, from Yugoslavia's founder, Josip Broz Tito. In the Cold War, Tito's Yugoslavia refused to join either NATO or the Warsaw Pact. Instead, it led the non-aligned movement, a global coalition of countries that sought independence from both East and West. That doctrine, neutrality as strength, remains at the core of Serbia's modern identity. Today's Serbia isn't non-aligned by ideology. It's non-aligned by design. And that's what makes it so dangerous, and so valuable, to the great powers still trying to pull it to their side. The Shield and the Silk Road, Serbia's modern military and economic strategy. If the 1990s were the decade of collapse, the 2020s are the decade of rebuilding, both militarily and economically. Serbia's armed forces, once weakened by sanctions and war, have quietly transformed into one of the most capable in southeastern Europe. This isn't an army built for aggression, it's built for deterrence and for autonomy. Over the last decade, Serbia has invested heavily in modernization, blending Russian, Chinese, and Western equipment into a uniquely hybrid arsenal. From Moscow, Serbia acquired Panzer S-1 air defense systems and modernized MiG-29 fighter jets. From China, it bought Ch-92A drones and Fk-3 surface-to-air missile systems. A signal that Belgrade is willing to diversify where the West hesitates to sell. And from France, Serbia is now negotiating for Rafale fighter jets, a move that shows how fluid its loyalties can be when it serves national interest. The message is clear: Serbia buys from everyone but obeys no one. Its military exercises tell the same story. Serbia drills with NATO forces through the Partnership for Peace program, participates in EU security missions, and simultaneously holds joint drills with Russia and Belarus. In 2019, it even hosted a military exercise featuring both Russian and Chinese troops, the first time those two powers trained together on European soil. It's an extraordinary display of balance, a geopolitical tightrope walk that few could manage. But Serbia's defense policy isn't just about hardware. It's about symbolism. Every modernization, every parade, every joint drill serves a dual purpose: to reassure the Serbian people that they are no longer weak, and to remind the world that Belgrade still matters. This military revival mirrors Serbia's economic one. In a region dependent on EU subsidies and IMF programs, Serbia's economy has quietly become one of the fastest growing in the Balkans. Foreign investment pours in from every direction: Germany, China, Turkey, the UAE. Belgrade plays them all off one another, ensuring that no single partner dominates. Infrastructure is the new battlefield, and Serbia is winning it. Chinese-built railways now connect Belgrade to Budapest, linking Central Europe with the Mediterranean. Highways stretch across borders once marked by war. Energy pipelines crisscross the country, bringing Russian gas while connecting to European grids. And at the center of it all is Belgrade, a city that has become both a construction site and a diplomatic crossroads. In 1 week, you might find the US ambassador meeting with the Prime Minister about defense cooperation, a Russian envoy discussing gas prices, and a Chinese delegation signing a new trade agreement, all in the same building. Serbia's leaders have mastered a rare art in geopolitics: to be courted by all, but controlled by none. And behind that balance lies something few outsiders fully grasp: pride. For Serbia, this isn't just strategy, it's redemption. After a decade of humiliation, isolation, and bombardment, every investment, every treaty, every diplomatic handshake feels like a quiet revenge. Proof that the world that once bombed Belgrade now competes for its favor. Between empires, Serbia's future and the coming test. But balance is not the same as safety. And as the world divides once more, with NATO expanding eastward, Russia entrenched in war, and China facing growing Western resistance, Serbia's position becomes more precarious. The question is simple: how long can Serbia keep walking this line? On one side lies the West, promising EU membership and economic integration, but demanding alignment with its sanctions on Russia and its policies on Kosovo. On the other side lies Moscow and Beijing, offering friendship and investment, but expecting loyalty in return. So far, Belgrade has said yes to both, and no to neither. It's a brilliant strategy, but it has limits. As the EU grows impatient with Serbia's strategic ambiguity, pressure is mounting for Belgrade to choose. Brussels wants clear alignment, Washington wants sanctions on Russia, NATO wants full integration. But choosing sides would break the very equilibrium that keeps Serbia powerful. If it turns west, it risks alienating its pro-Russian population and losing energy security. If it turns east, it risks economic isolation and political backlash from Europe, its largest trading partner. That's why President Vučić continues to pursue what he calls military neutrality and strategic autonomy. It's not neutrality in the passive sense. It's an active balancing act designed to extract maximum benefit from all sides while committing to none. And ironically, it's working. Even as Western diplomats warn Serbia against sitting on two chairs, they still sign defense cooperation agreements and expand investments. Even as Russia praises Serbia's friendship, Moscow knows Belgrade's loyalty is transactional, not total. And even as China builds railways and industrial zones, it knows Serbia will never become a colony. It's too proud for that. That pride, that stubborn independence, is what makes Serbia so fascinating and so unpredictable. Because Serbia is not just surviving between empires, it's manipulating them. In every meeting, every treaty, every handshake, Serbia extracts what it needs: energy from Russia, investment from China, legitimacy from the EU, and turns them into sovereignty. It's a survival instinct born from history. A history of invasions and betrayals, of wars fought for independence, of resilience in the face of destruction. For most of Europe, geopolitics is about alliances. For Serbia, it's about endurance. That's why Belgrade isn't rushing to pick a side. It knows that great powers rise and fall, but geography and patience never change. And when the dust settles, Serbia intends to still be standing, not as a pawn but as a player. Serbia's strategy isn't flashy. It's subtle, quiet, and brutally effective. It plays east against west, friendship against rivalry, dependence against independence, and somehow it works. Because in the chessboard of the Balkans, Serbia doesn't try to be the king. It plays the queen, moving in every direction, surviving every check, and waiting for the moment when everyone else overextends. That's how a small nation in the heart of Europe outsmarted empires, not by power but by patience. And as the world once again divides into camps, Serbia's model may become the blueprint for others. Nations too small to dominate but too clever to be dominated. Because sometimes the most dangerous player on the board is the one who refuses to play by anyone's rules. This is Doctrine of War, and you've just seen how Serbia became the master of balance, outlasting sanctions, outsmarting empires, and rewriting the rules of small state strategy. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Serbia's geopolitical chess game, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because in a world of great powers, it's often the smallest nations, the ones who learn to balance, adapt, and endure, that truly change the game.